I'm jamming, Control. You turning the music off too soon. Welcome to Wire to Wire Sports Podcast, episode 109. I'm your handsome host, the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. Although my picks aren't very genius this year. I mean, I'm over 500, but it's not me. I'm gonna go 3-0 this week. That's okay. To my upper right, I got Scholastic Shally, Uncle Shally. He's got nicknames left and right. What's popping, Shally?
Nada. I gotta get my ass in gear on picks. I've had a bad month.
Bad month. Bad
October's a bad month.
It's fine. It's okay, Shally. It's all right. You bring a different level to the show. We're not listening. People fading you, bro. It's fine. You're making people money to go get it. I'm just kidding. And in my upper left, I got the maestro, the man that's running the show, Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, green screen in the background, College Cottrell. What's popping, Cottrell?
Nothing much, man. I'm ready to get to it.
I can't let me beat you on NCAA. Listen, if I beat you on NFL, it's expected. But don't let me beat you in NCAA.
I'm creeping up NFL.
You are, actually. I've had a really rough NFL. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's been a weird year, NFL-wise. I'm not like
it has.
I can't get my grasp, but I feel like I have a 3-0 week this week. We're gonna skip over the first topic today. We don't want to talk about it. I don't want to get into it. I'm kidding. I have to get into it. We gotta talk about the World Series. I have my thoughts. We last week, what were we? 2-1? Was it 2-1 before we popped on? And then that was game 4 was Wednesday. Game 5 Friday. So we were up. This is totally different where we were last week to this week. I'm hurt. Cottrell, you called the series correct. You said Astros in 6. You can start it, sir. I don't want to talk about it.
I mean, I as much as I wanted you guys to win, that series, you guys had it. I mean, you know, the opportunity was there. It wasn't like you guys were outmatched or anything like that. I think it really ultimately just came down to the Astros were a deeper team. We talked about it in our group chat, game 6. You know, Wheeler got pulled early, and that's just one of those things where we knew it, and you were hoping that everybody else knew it, but that wasn't the case. And then you give it over to the bullpen, and a couple runs get on the board. But even before you get to that point, Gene, me and you both agreed on the show last week. You know, game 4 was very pivotal because we knew, you know, you had to go into game 5 with Justin Verlander and Noah Syndergaard. Like you wanted to be up 3-1 going into that situation. So, but I mean, hell of a season though. It's nothing to hang your hat on. Of course, I know you guys wanted to bring a championship back to the city, but I'd be excited for the future.
It's a loser's mentality, Control.
It is, but you had.
Thing. I don't think that way.
You didn't even think that they would be making the playoffs before the season. They went to the World Series, so you gotta keep things in perspective too.
Control. My job is to give unbiased opinions, and trust me, it hurts when I don't predict the Phillies to go to the playoffs or the World Series. It hurts me to do that. I was wrong, which I was happily wrong. I've been wrong before. I will be wrong again. But with that being said, when you get there, when you're dancing on your own, when you're hype and you're in that World Series and you're up 2-1, and they got no hit the night we got off air, no hit. So it's 2-2. That's not the game I want to talk about. The game I want to talk about is game 5 and game 6. Game 5, Trey Mancini made a play that does not get talked about enough. And it's actually like not the way you're supposed to play it. When you're holding somebody onto the bag, any like level of sports, As soon as the pitch is thrown, you're supposed to take 2 steps back, if it's on the line, if it's over, or whatever, and be ready. Mancini didn't move. And because of that, he had the opportunity to put the glove on ball before that ball hits the bag. 100% that ball hits the bag. It's lined up perfectly to hit the bag. And if it hits the bag, there's no way anybody could have fielded it. And we tie the game, if not take the lead. And game 5 could have went way differently. Then center field, JT's ball goes off the wall. Kid makes an incredible play in center field. I think that's a Delco kid too. What's his name, Charlie?
McCormick
from Delco makes a great catch off the right center field fence. And that's all she wrote. We go into game 6. We got Zach Wheeler on the mound. And I'm like, you'll know right away if this is going to be a really good game for Zach Wheeler by the first inning. And you see 98, 99, 100 on the docket. His velocity was there. He was mowing hitters down. A guy, Maldonado, steps into a pitch, puts his elbow out there, makes sure he gets hit by the ball. A bleeding single. And it's bullpen time. 1 out, first and third. Yordan Alvarez is up. And if you're going to go to the bullpen there, which I vehemently disagree with, I even more disagree that Alvarado is the guy you go to. I know it's lefty-lefty. He has seen Alvarado 4 times in the series already by game 6. Alvarado was 0 for 3 against him with a walk. The walk was the hit by batter to Alvarado, came in the middle of an inning and hit him because his nerves were really high. And then this at bat, Alvarado got Yordan Alvarez got every piece of that ball and hit that ball to a place I don't think many balls are hitting. It hurt. I am still hurt. I am in pain. I am not over this. I almost cried. Bill, take it away.
No, I mean, you hit on a lot of the stuff. I mean, it's, my concern at the beginning of the series was, were they going to be able to continue to get the hit they needed, every single time, like they did in the first couple rounds? And through the first 4 games, minus the no-no, I mean, they did. They were holding their own. And then it was kind of, I had this epiphany almost, like where I thought about, Gene, I know you'll know this, the end of Moneyball, after they have that run and they get in the playoffs, and then, there's like an outro where it says, after everything they did, it was still came down to the law of averages leveled out and everything else. And I almost kind of felt that. I felt that eventually, not that their luck ran out. It was just, the way they try to, their offensive approach and how they try to hit, it kind of eventually caught up to them after the game 4. You look at some of the numbers from, pretty much the whole series, and they're not flattering to say the least. They only scored, I think, a couple runs after game 2. There was 50-some strikeouts in the last 4 games. It was just bad. That being said, I think if JT's ball falls, maybe somehow the Mancini play was ridiculous. I don't think people understand how hard Schwarber hit that ball and how much of a difficult play that is. And, and like you said, I played first base a lot when I was younger. You're supposed to be further off the bag than that. You're almost supposed to go out and almost be almost out in front of where the runner is, taking those first 2 quick steps off the base, and he didn't do that. And I just feel like we got punished for him playing first baseman poorly. But it's just the breaks, man. And then game 6 was heartbreaking. It's hard to criticize Thompson when he got them there, and up until that point, pretty much every single decision he made worked out. But I feel like he overthunk himself on that one. To your point, he was only at 70 pitches. He's not pitching again this year. He's absolutely going out there to empty the tank. Whatever that kid had left in his tank, he was leaving on that mound. He's at 70. Velo's still up around 97, 98. Like you said, Genie, he broke in 4 bats in the game. He'd, gotten a little bit of trouble earlier through two ground ball double plays. He was fine. Like you said, you have a guy that leans into a pitch and, and a 4-hopper up the middle because we were shifted a little bit the other way. He throws a ground ball double play there. He's out of the inning with 75 pitches, and it's still 1-0. That one was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back.
You knew it. You knew it.
Yeah,
that home run was hit, you knew the series was over.
Oh yeah, that was it. There was as soon as he hit that ball, there was going to be for as much heart and determination and will that they showed, that was asking too much of all of them. And then Houston's bullpen did their job, man. I mean, it is what it is. Tough one. It's a tough one when like I said. I mean, I had him in the playoffs, but I thought maybe they would get through the wild card round. Never my wildest dreams that I think we were going on this trip, and it was sad. It was tough to watch. And I make no bones about it. Baseball is, by far my first love. I know how much Gene likes it. Like you get emotional when you get emotionally attached to a team like that and watch it, and then watch them lose. It's tough. It is. But I think the bones of this team are very strong. I think they're a little bit better than maybe we all thought they were. And we'll see what moves they make in the offseason. But it was a good World Series. I mean, that's one thing I think people overlooking. And I'll tell you this: Houston had to play exactly how Houston played all year. Because if not, it wouldn't have been enough. It really weren't enough. I don't think the Phillies let them get away with anything, and I don't think the Phillies let them off the hook. Houston, towards the end of that series, just played better in the exact spot every single time they had to, and you have to tip your hat to them.
I know it's not the same sport. I know it's not the same series outcome. I know it's not, that comparable as far as the team. But that reminded me of the 2001 Philadelphia 76ers. You got the heart and soul of the team, number 3, Allen Iverson, Bryce Harper. You got a team that didn't lose in the playoffs, the Los Angeles Lakers. Philly took their first punch, winning game 1. The Sixers took their first punch, winning game 1. The Iverson step-over game. I know it wasn't the same, but it felt the same to me. It was hurtful, man. I'm still. I think that 76ers team definitely overachieved more than this Phillies team did. Because simply, like you said, it was not to that level, man. I mean, you could say what you want. The Phillies probably outplayed themselves, but you still do have way more talent on that team than the Sixers did. Allen Iverson took a bunch of bums to the finals. Like that is why that season is held so highly, even outside the city. And one of the reasons people look at AI so in such high regards of being a warrior and that team had no business. Are you telling me that George Lynch and Tyrone Hill were bums?
I'm not telling you they were good. I like George Lynch.
Mutombo, bro. We had the finger wag.
You got Tyrone Hill, top 5 ugliest players to ever play in the league. Aaron McKee, Eric
Snow, the snowman.
All you do is leave Eric Snow open at the foul line. That wasn't going in.
Eric Snow was the real Ben Simmons before Ben Simmons.
Kind of, yeah.
He wasn't scared.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody. I've never seen anybody miss more elbow jumpers in my life than Eric Snow, like wide open. Just let him shoot it. Just get ready to get the rebound. Just oof. I get it. I get what you're saying with the feel and like the kind of the vibe coming out of nowhere type thing. I just think the Sixers overachieved way more than.
Sixers were the 1 seed. Phillies were the 6, 7 seed.
Yeah,
big difference. All right,
the East was horrible.
What else we got to talk about with this baseball stuff? I really don't want to talk about this anymore.
No, I mean I think free agency is going to be interesting. I think they have a couple different routes they can go and how they want
to Trey Turner and a starting pitcher.
Yeah, I mean I think that's ideal, and it sounds like the Japanese kid wants to come here.
Yeah.
Apparently he fell in love, watching the World Series, and this is where he wants to go. So that creates an interesting situation. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. I think there's going to be some
I
hard
have
feeling.
no idea how good that the Japanese kid is.
He's good.
Is he like an Otani pitcher and hitter?
And I'm glad you asked me that because I've talked about this kid 5 times today. He's not Otani.
Okay.
He's good. He is obviously he would start in left field for us. He's a very good defender as well. He's going to be younger when he came over than Otani was. Not so much. I'm trying to think of like a good comparison.
Doesn't he pitch though?
He's not going to pitch. No, I don't think he's going to be a major league pitcher. He's going to play left field. He doesn't have Otani's raw power. He's a little bit more of like a Freddie Freeman type hitter. Probably hit like 25 to 30, but hit a lot of doubles, hit for a good average. He's that. And I'm
we had Trey Turner and Freddie Freeman. I'm a happy camper, brother.
Yeah. So
give me a starting pitcher and I'm good.
Yeah, and I think that's the other big need.
Trade Reese for a starting pitcher. Move Alec Bohm to first base. Give me a defensive third baseman, and let's call it a day.
You could do that, and you can move. I mean, if that kid's playing left field, I think you can move Schwarber to first. You can do that.
Schwarber can't play first base, bro.
Well, Rhys Hoskins can't either. So
it's fair.
So we're not losing anything there. I feel like that's like another like Moneyball reference, like when they go in and talk to
first base is the moon.
I mean, first base.
The one thing with you guys though is, I mean, I know we were probably going to get more into it as we get closer to the offseason. It's like starting up for real. But how big of a push do you make for Trey Turner if you're seriously to enter the Mike Trout sweepstakes?
So the thing you have to the Trout thing is going to be interesting because obviously that's not going to be a
dream.
I mean, it's not a pipe dream.
I mean, if he wants to play here and the Angels are going to shop him.
Yeah. It's not like towards the end of the pipe to get like excited, but like it's in the pipe. They got Otani. He signed the 1-year thing. Otani is going to test free agency after that. I don't think they can keep both of them. If they decide to keep Otani, then I think they trade Trout. That's the quickest way to turn that team around. He has a full no trade clause. He's going to absolutely 100% control where he goes. I don't see him going anywhere but here. That'll get real interesting. But again, with Trout, if we go after Trout, that's not going to be a money thing. That's going to be prospects and players. So having a deep team doesn't hurt there. But it'll, I think it's gonna be really interesting. They have $75 million coming off the books. A couple guys opted out, and there's a lot of people that want to see like Segura back. I don't think they're going to re-sign Hoskins long term. They have 1-year arbitration left with them. If they decide to keep him, I think that's the way it's going to go. I think there could be a situation like Gene said, where they agree to arbitration and then trade him as a package to something else, or he could be here. I don't know. I just don't think he's getting a long-term deal. A lot of talk, man. A lot of talk. It's there's a couple pitchers you can probably. Yeah, I mean Jacob deGrom's a free agent. I think for the money that he's going to command, I'm probably not interested because it's going to be a term thing with him. But do we go throw $25 million at Verlander to pitch here for 1 year?
Jacob deGrom is going to Atlanta or Texas. Book it.
I would vote on Texas out of the two of them.
Texas would be money. Atlanta would be for less money than he would get paid from the Mets.
I think he goes back to New York.
No way. I don't think so.
I think there's a pretty good shot he ends up back with the Mets, but just because I think Cohen's going to write him a blank check, I don't think Cohen's going to let him walk out of town. I just don't.
They just give $20 million to a closer.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I think DeGrom probably stays with the Mets. Verlander, I don't know. I mean, I can't see Houston letting him go, but
I don't want him.
I mean, I'm not taking him for a year, bro.
Keep him and his mouth, you wipe out of here.
That'll be the interesting part of that, her having to be friends with all the fans that, she was all in their face in the game. But
I respect it though. I'm just kidding.
I like her energy.
no, I was just saying, I mean, listen, we've seen it before. Most when that happens to most, spouses, however it may be, that doesn't end well usually. That ends with a security escort out, and she sat there and took it and gave it
Right in the
back.
thick of it. Yep.
Yeah, good for her.
Did you guys see the Lance McCullers post on?
Yeah, he's a bitch.
Don't
be the dude who got lit up and then deliberately skip you again and be like, you might come out of the bullpen, and then be the guy talking tough on the Instagram video. Like, come on, man. Like, no, we're not doing that,
bro. They added the meme to it when you didn't participate in the class project and still get an A.
Yeah, it was.
I don't think. Did you see it, Cottrell?
I did not know.
He was on the Instagram talking a lot of smack about, he said something about the Yankees, he said something about the Mariners, and they said, Red October was bloody October as we bloodied the Phillies, talking smack. And I'm like, bro, you give up 5 home runs and got lit up. You're not the guy. You're not him.
You're not
I
him.
felt like that lady in the video. You are not him. You are not him.
It was not the best look in the world. But I mean, listen, the one thing we know, Dombrowski's going to be aggressive. That's his MO, and I think the bones of it are. I'm more optimistic about them than I have been in a long time.
You can afford to be aggressive when your team makes a World Series run, because all the extra money that they made on merch and tickets, things of that nature, it shows you.
Well, but I mean, you look at the kid from Japan, that is it. Even other players from the Astros were talking about how crazy the atmosphere was here. That's what you want to play in. If you're gonna have a shot to go play in the playoffs, do I want to go to the Yankees and play in stuffy Yankee Stadium where the people don't show up till the 3rd inning, and they go down 2 runs and the stadium empties out, or do you want to go to the bank and play there where there's 50,000 people screaming their faces off every pitch of every game? It's an easy decision. Honestly, it is. It's between that, like I said, they have some of the money coming off. Back in the bullpen, for the most part is in good shape. I think Sir Anthony's capable of being a 35, 40 save guy, 40 saves a year guy. Alvarado's just going to continue to get better. I'm not going to come down hard as him as a lot of other people are. Kid had a 1.5 ERA the last 4 months of the season.
Yeah.
He just threw one bad pitch to a really freaking good hitter. And
Really
he didn't miss it. So
threw it 100 too. It was a 99,
yeah.
100 mile an hour fastball.
Yeah, it was a cock shot, but I mean, you still got to hit it, and he barreled the hell out of it, man.
Yo, every week with you, bro. Every week with you.
Got to get it in 4 weeks in a row.
We're on TV, brother. Slow it down a little bit.
It's a baseball term.
We
Heard it on
understand.
MLB Network before. But it's again. I mean, listen. I think the great thing that came out of it is they already picked up Nola's option. Wheeler's still signed for 2 more years, and Ranger Suarez is going to be your number 3 next year. That kid earned a lot. He pitched his ass off, and he absolutely deserves to be the number 3 next year. So go get another top of the line starter. You got Appel and Painter probably coming up to push for the 5th spot. And then see what happens. Get a couple bullpen pieces, and I think the biggest concern is how they're going to approach the infield. I think there's so many moving parts there, and there's so many different ways they could do it. So, I have faith in Dombrowski, and we'll see what we do. I think everybody wants to see Trey. I mean, I think that's obviously to be able to finally have a true leadoff hitter, be able to move Schwarber back, and that makes that lineup just crazy. It makes it so much better. But it's going to be if you look at all the names that are on free agency this year, this is going to be a very fun winter free agency wise. You're not going to have any of the lockout BS that we had last year where some guys signed, some didn't. I think when it opens, I think you're going to see some crazy deals right out of the gate this year.
All right, I'm done. I'm tapping out. Can we stop?
All right, we're done.
Control, am I good to move on?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. College football. Thank you. Let's just talk about something. It's not depressing me anymore. I'm depressed. College football. Rankings came out. Oh, there they are. Control with the beautiful rankings picture. I don't know, guys. Number one is finally right. Wasn't right last week. It's right this week. Georgia Bulldogs, number one. Ohio State, number two. Michigan Wolverines, number three. TCU Horned Frogs, number four. The Vols drop all the way from 1 to 5. Oregon Ducks, 6. LSU, 7. The USC Trojans, 8. And this year's college football playoff will have no Tide. Sorry, Paul. No Tide.
No Tide.
What's your thought on last week's games? Georgia Bulldogs just putting it on Tennessee like they always do. What's your thoughts?
I mean, the easy thing to say is that Georgia's just one of those teams that big game happens, they get up for it. I don't think there was ever a talent thing. Obviously, the defense isn't as talented as it was last year, but they still got a good defense. Like, that was never in question. But you kind of were you see games like the Missouri game and the Kent State game, and you start to question, like, all right, well, we didn't see those kinds of games last year. If they were going up against those teams, if they didn't get up for it, it was a 35-0 game, or it was a 28-0 game, and you didn't see it, going back and forth and actually being tight in the fourth quarter. But then you see these games against the schools that they actually get up for, like a Florida team at a neutral site in Jacksonville, and then Tennessee being the number one team coming into their house to play. You saw right out the gate, yes, Georgia made a mistake. They turned the ball over early, and they were down 3-0, literally 3-0. You were like, all right, well, Tennessee, maybe this might be a good game. After that, Georgia came out and they said, no, we're putting all that to rest. Stetson Bennett, he had the big scramble on third down where he scrambled for a touchdown. That was huge for him. And although they returned the ball over, they had, a few turnovers in that game. It didn't matter much. They were never in trouble in that game. So I know I've been one to not be as high on Georgia, but I mean, the respect is definitely earned. And if you don't say anything else about Georgia, you say they get up for the big games, and the rest of the way out, whether it be SEC championship or college football playoff, those are big games. And so at this point, you got to fully expect Georgia to be ready for those.
You got a game this week. It's a little bit of a letdown game. They're only 16.5-point favorites, a little bit of a trap on the road. I have a feeling they play a close game this week after beating Tennessee, that little exhale game. But, man, they look like the best team in the country. They do. And I look forward to a Georgia-Ohio State national championship. That's what I feel like we're going to see. That's what I feel like is going to happen. I feel like that there's 4 teams that are better than every other team in college football. It's Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and Tennessee. I think TCU is going to get exposed this week, just like Clemson got exposed last week. I think Texas goes into there and beats the crap, or they play home. But I think Texas beats the crap out of them this week, foreshadowing. I think it's laughable that Oregon's 6, but I get it, first week of the season. But when you have a 49-3 burger on your record, I don't know, man. I can't look at you as a college football playoff team. I just can't. I'm hoping the 4 teams that make it are the 4 I just mentioned, because they're the best 4 teams in the country. Give me Georgia, give me Ohio State, give me Michigan, and give me Tennessee. And I think the way they'll seed it is if Michigan loses to Ohio State in a close game, I think you'll see a 1 Georgia, a 2 Ohio State, a 3 Tennessee, and a 4 Michigan. And that would create the Big Ten versus the SEC in 2 college football playoff games, the best 2 conferences playing against each other. and then that would create a national championship of Ohio State versus Georgia. That's how I see it going here. Your thoughts?
I mean, as much as I would love that, I really just I don't see that happening, especially because of what's going on right now in the Pac-12. Assuming that one of them, you get a Pac-12 champion that's not a one-loss team, then I would say that they're all but certain going to be in over either Michigan or Tennessee. And this is all also assuming that TCU loses before the end of the season. So if TCU runs the table, they control their own destiny at this point. Therefore, they're not going to lose any spots if they don't lose a game for the rest of the season. I think for me, it gets interesting because, you saw Oregon already play that Georgia team the first week of the season. Obviously, they're playing like a different team now than they did at the beginning of the year. But USC has one loss on their record so far, and it was a 1-point loss at Utah. We talked about this last week. I think if USC goes the rest of the way, they run the table, there's nothing in my mind that says that USC isn't a deserving team. Especially, we keep seeing Utah climb the rankings week after week. Right now, they're at 13. Who knows how high they're going to be? If you have a top 10 loss by 1 point on the road in a game that you were trailing for 35 seconds, I can't say that you're not justified to be one of the top 4 teams, especially if you win a conference championship on top of it.
Look, Chow, your thoughts on this, but I'll tell you this, man. I don't want to hear about the WAC-12. Those teams out there, they're not any whit comparable to the Big Ten and the SEC. And the SEC is the best conference. And then you take a step down, maybe a step and a half. You get to the Big Ten. Then you take 3 more steps down, and you get to the Pac-12. A one loss. Look, you can fool yourself all you want. You can kid yourself all you want. But if you want to do predictions of what the committee will do, that's fine. That's a prediction. But if you want to stand up here and tell me that the best 4 teams in the country that you watch with your eyes aren't Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and Tennessee, you're not watching the same football. You're watching a different brand of football. Shall we?
I will 100% agree with you. I think those are the best 4 teams in the country. I do wholeheartedly agree with that. I don't know if we can get to that, though. I think the loser of Michigan, Ohio State becomes I don't know how you would seed either one of them above Tennessee. That becomes chaotic. Obviously, if TCU runs a table and they're an undefeated Big 12 champ, they're going to be in. Again, this week is very crucial for them. And I think they go to Baylor after that. So, the odds of them going undefeated are not great. I don't think a one-loss TCU Pac-12 or Big 12 champ can get in. So I do agree with you on that, Gene. I think Oregon's going to kind of be the one that kind of throws a wrench into this whole thing. I know they got killed. It was week 1. It was away. It's going to, you could say what you want about it, but if they're sitting there 12-1 and they're the Pac-12 champ and their only loss is to the unanimous number 1 team in the country, that's going to be a tough resume to beat.
At 46 points, though. It's not like they lost like 14 points.
I get it. But at the same time, it was week 1. It was a away game. It was a new coaching staff. It was a new quarterback. I get what you're saying. I'm not advocating for them. I'm just telling you, just playing devil's advocate. I think it's going to be really. I'll put it to you this way, and would I rather see both Ohio State and Michigan in the playoff? Yeah, I just don't think it's likely.
So, Shally, let me ask you a question. I want to see how much your tone changes after Michigan loses at Ohio State and the debate goes between Oregon and Michigan, and you guys lose like a 3-point game at Ohio State, like a dogfight at Ohio State. And I want to hear you say Oregon's going to get in over Michigan. Like that's deserving. It's not.
If they win the Pac-12, it is.
It's not.
Yeah. I can tell you this:
the Conference USA winner should be in too at that point. Then
it's going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard to justify the loser of that game getting in, unless a lot of other crazy stuff happens. Again, we're assuming Oregon runs the table. We're assuming a lot here. It's USC's is lined up to play Oregon, and they have Notre Dame in a couple weeks. It's there's going to be a lot of movement in that top 10. I think them only putting Tennessee at 5 lends a lot to Gene's theory, and the one that I agree with. They put them at 5 in front of Oregon because I think as of right now, if anybody else is going to jump back into that top 4, it's going to be Tennessee. The only time that Oregon has a shot to jump Tennessee is if they win the Pac-12. That's the only time it's going to happen. Until then, they've made it very clear they're going to stay behind Tennessee, and I believe that's correct. I don't think they should be in front of them yet.
Joseph
Jeffers, you don't have to worry about that either because they're going to lose this week too.
That's a tricky game for them. I agree with Gene on that one. I don't know if they're going to lose, but I think the spread on that tells you everything you want to know.
That would turn all this, and I don't think a 2-loss LSU SEC champ gets in, but that's a whole. I think Georgia would still get
Georgia
in
after LSU just beat them.
I think so. I think so.
If Georgia gets to the SEC championship game undefeated, they're in no matter what happens in that game.
I think I agree.
So LSU beats them, and then they say, "Oh, Georgia's still in."
I mean, that's
well, here's the thing. You're again, if you're staying consistent, then you're valuing a conference championship. It's going to be tough with Tennessee then because Tennessee's going to sit there and be like, "We beat you head to head. We killed you in your own building."
They made this point though on the real college football playoff reveal when we've had a similar situation like this already happen with Ohio State and Penn State a few years back. They don't necessarily value the 2-loss conference champion. Like there hasn't been a 2-loss team to make the playoff yet, and I think that precedent kind of shows where their heads are at. So yes, it's going to be tough because you just saw LSU beat Georgia. But at the same time, it's a 1-loss team who's been dominating everyone, who's held the number one spot for the entire season. I don't think that they would change it up now where the 2-loss team gets playoff. They didn't hold it for the entire season.
They didn't hold it for an entire season. They lost it last week. Don't kid yourself. Georgia's not the number 1 seed last week.
I understand. I understand.
Here's why I don't think it's going to matter because I don't think LSU is going to beat Georgia
and not lose.
So
I agree with that.
So again, your 1 and 2 seed going in. I think no matter what happens, is you're going to have Georgia 1, and then the winner of Michigan Ohio State is going to be number 2. They're going to be the 2 seed. After that, I think there's 8 gazillion possibilities.
What was the biggest problem you had with this? Let's do the same thing we did last week. We can move one team from one spot to another. You can only move one, and then if somebody moves them, you can't touch them.
Okay.
We'll go top to bottom. Gatrell, Bill, me.
I would probably move. I don't really have crazy.
Fine.
I guess I'd swap UCLA and Clemson. Like
okay.
I don't have anything.
I agree with that. I think UCLA is way too low.
I mean, UCLA's loss is to Oregon away. I mean, I 100% agree with that. I don't know why UCLA is behind
a 2-loss Alabama, Clemson.
I'll tell you right now, I would, yeah. They, in my opinion, they should be 9.
I agree, but I couldn't move Bama to 12 and have them behind Ole Miss. So
Bama's a missed field goal and a freaking great play from Bryce Young from having 4 losses, dude. I said it 2 weeks ago. This is the weakest Alabama team there's been in some time.
Okay, so what's your move?
Me? That's easy. Notre Dame, unranked.
I love it.
You cannot lose at home to Marshall. You can't have 2 absolutely terrible losses and be ranked. There's too many good teams this year.
I got one for you. I swap USC, and so it's tough because I swap USC and LSU or USC and Oregon. But I think that a 2-loss LSU team shouldn't be ahead of USC. So for argument's sake now, because they'll play again, I'll just swap USC with LSU because I don't want to have LSU ahead of Oregon too. So I'll swap USC with LSU and move them up. A 1-loss versus a 2-loss team. So that would be my
And again, I agree with that 100% as well, Gene. I just don't. There's no
Agreed.
consistency with all these teams though. So LSU wins 2 games against 500 teams, goes from unranked back up to 10th, but then they beat Alabama this week, and they only go from 10th to 7th. Like there's too much. Again, there's too much branding and stuff being set up to pad people's resumes right now, and it's getting annoying.
okay.
Like Washington just happens to scoot back into the 25th this week. Why is that? Because they're playing Oregon. It's going to strengthen Oregon's resume big time.
Don't get it twisted. That Washington team's a good football team.
It's fine, but they haven't beat anybody good. They don't have a good win. They lost to Oregon, and they lost to, I believe, UCLA. Their best win is a 4-5 Michigan State team. I'm just saying. I'm just telling you how it is. They're ranked 25th this week for one reason. So when Oregon beats them, Oregon goes another ranked win for people that don't want them there. It's facts.
Well, let's get into our NCAA pick'em. So I mean, who's really in first place right now, Control? Are you in first place because of the Super Dog?
No, Gene would be in first place, in my opinion.
I'm just checking. I don't know who's in first place. I only had 12 losses. Maybe. I'll pick, though, because I know, Control, you can still go last. That's where you like to go last.
That's fine.
I'll be the rose between 2 thorns. Starts off Shally. We'll go Shally, me, Control.
All right. First one, I think this is one of the easier games this week. I know Missouri's been playing well. I think Tennessee coming off that loss. Georgia looked great. I think Tennessee didn't play particularly well, but they just got beat on every aspect of the ball, on both sides of the ball. I think Tennessee going back home minus 20.5. I think they boat race Missouri this week. I really do. I think Hendon Hooker has a huge game. They're going to try to get him back in the Heisman race. And it's a rebound game. And Tennessee's at the point now where they got to score every point they can going out to score points into committee. So I think Tennessee smokes Missouri at home. Second game, can't believe I'm about to pick this, actually, but I'm going to. I'm going to take Penn State minus 10 at home. It's anywhere from 9.5. I saw it at 11 somewhere, 10.5. It's wherever in there. They've looked better the last 2 weeks. I think they were giving Ohio State everything they wanted and then some. Sean Clifford just threw that game away. That defensive end from Ohio State had the game of his life, and Ohio State got made plays when they had to, but Penn State was in that game. I think at home against a Maryland team is a little banged up. Baby Tua is still not 100%. They got him back last week, but he's not playing how he was at the beginning of the year. He's not 100%. I think in Happy Valley, minus 10. I'll just cut it in the middle wherever it is. I think Penn State covers at home. They're playing for a New Year's Six Rose Bowl or a New Year's Six Day bowl game at this point as well. So I think Penn State gets it done. And the last game I'm going to take Notre Dame at Navy. Strength of Notre Dame is obviously their defense. Navy cannot throw the ball. They're going to play their triple option game. And on top of everything else, the weather is probably not going to be really great down at Baltimore this weekend. They're not playing the game at Annapolis. They're playing it at Baltimore and Raven Stadium. That will be an away home game for Notre Dame. There's going to be more Notre Dame fans there than the Navy fans. So I'm going to go Notre Dame minus 15.5 over Navy. I just don't think Navy is going to be able to generate enough points to just keep Notre Dame honest, to be completely honest. So I think Notre Dame covers there. And I'm an idiot and I forgot to pick my super dog. So I will do that in a second. I'll go whenever you guys are done picking your games.
Okay. Well, I'll go with mine. I'll take Kentucky minus 18 over Vanderbilt. I'm gonna take a team versus Vanderbilt every time I can do that. So
It's unreal.
Will Levis, and I'm winning, right?
I know. I hear you.
Will Levis minus 18. I think they'll beat him by 35. Vanderbilt stinks. They always stink. So give me Kentucky minus 18 over Vanderbilt. Texas minus 7 over TCU. I like Texas. I think they're a better football team. I think TCU's been begging for a loss. Let's give them one. Texas, horns up. Texas wins by 14. I got Arkansas plus 3.5 over LSU. I think I'll take the 3.5 points. I think Arkansas wins this game outright. It's a letdown game for LSU. They got to go on the road, go play at Arkansas. Give me Arkansas plus the 3.5. And for my super dog, I couldn't believe the spread when I seen it, and I'm probably going to lose, and that's okay. But I'll take Indiana plus 40 versus Ohio State. I know Indiana stinks, but give me 40 points with a Big Ten school. I'll take it. These are still Big Ten commits. I know they're not great, but give me Indiana plus 40 versus Ohio State. Pick up a couple points.
All right, so it's on me now.
Yes, sir.
All right, so I got 3 here for you. First one, OK State plus 1.5 at home versus Iowa State. Look, I know Oklahoma State's been on the slide, but you think here, Oklahoma State at home, they gotta get another win under their belt. I think they're a much better football team than what Iowa State is. Then Dogs at home, I think is crazy. I think they win that game outright. Second game I like. North Carolina at Wake Forest. I like the under 76.5. Now, I know this game is going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be 38-31, last possession of the game. I think it's high 60s, maybe 71 or so, but I don't think it gets that 76.5. That's a lot of points. And I don't think these teams get there. And the game that I think is going to be even more high scoring, Gene already touched on it, TCU Texas. I do think Texas wins that game. I think it's high scoring, though. I think you might see Texas hang 45 and TCU's at 41. I'm not too positive that Texas covers, but I think Texas wins, but I think it's a real high scoring game. And then my super dog this week, I like Boston College plus 19.5 at NC State. NC State lost Devin Leary a couple weeks ago, and this isn't that same Wolfpack team that I was clamoring to make it to the playoff and that I thought could beat Clemson, weeks back. This is a different team without their starting quarterback. I think Boston College is going to be able to hang in there with them. I think they gave me some points this week on Superdog.
I can see that. I got locked out of my Facebook because I kept sharing our link. So Facebook put me in Facebook jail. God damn it, Zuckerberg.
Go Nevada. Nevada plus 20.5 at home against Boise State. I wanted to pick. Right. I almost picked Ohio State or Indiana like Gene did, but I don't want to make the same pick as him.
I think I'm locked out. I'm gone forever, guys.
Happens to the best of us.
So I kept trying to share our posts. I'm back in. Yes, let's go. All right, so let's move on to NFL football. Hey, listen, guys, NFL football. So my first question, I got a couple questions for y'all. Will the Eagles go 17-0?
You would ask me. I mean, if you would ask me before the season, I would have probably thrown something at you. But I'll tell you, man, it's. I think there's one game that trips them up if it is, and it's not this week. But if they can get through that Christmas game against Dallas, I don't see where they lose.
I don't necessarily have one game on the schedule pinpointed that I think that they lose, but I do think at some point in the year, whether it be injuries or whether something trips them up, and I also think that at some point later in the season, they'll have one loss, maybe two losses. I think they'll have the 1 seed locked up, and you'll see them rest their starters their last game of the year. I think that could be another loss put on their schedule. That doesn't mean anything because it gives their guys an extra week of rest, but I could see that happen as well. So I'll say no, but I do think number 1 seed though. I think they'll lock that up.
They're not going undefeated, guys. I'm so shocked people are asking this to the point where this has to be a hot stove question. They're not going undefeated. They're going to go 14-3. 3 losses, not 1, not 2, 3. And it's nothing against the Eagles. The Eagles still be the 1 seed in the NFC, and I'm still super happy with a 14-3 record. But the NFL is insanity. Have you not watched the NFL this year? The Jets just beat the Buffalo Bills. Just letting you know that.
Yes, they did.
Guys, in every week NFL, something crazy happens. Malik Willis almost beat the Chiefs off a bye in their house.
And didn't complete a pass to a receiver.
Well, exactly. You don't think Tennessee's going to be a problem when they play us here? I feel like there's problems all across the NFL schedule. I feel like you can slip up any week, and the saying in football is any given Sunday.
Any given Sunday.
I get it.
Yep.
It's just if you look at their schedule before the season, you're like, oh, going to Indy, like that's a tough game. Packers coming here, that's a tough game. They're not tough games now. There's not. If the Eagles go on there play a B game, they win both those games. I mean, you could say the Titans all you want, but unless Derrick Henry runs for 400 yards, they're going to struggle to move the ball against that defense. Malik Willis,
Jordan Davis being hurt hurts them way more than you think. Damian Pierce ran for 100 yards in the Eagles Thursday night and was trucking people. There's gaping holes up the middle with the Texans.
I get it, but they were away and they still lost by 13. They still won by 13. That's what I mean. It's the Giants game, you never know. Like, again, I mean, going up there, who the hell knows? Bears are playing better. That could be your crappy weather game for sure. Middle of December in Chicago, who the hell knows what's going to be out there? Then you go to Dallas for Christmas, and then you're home against the Saints. I don't see that right now. And then home against the Giants.
Okay. I'm telling you guys, the Eagles.
I'm not saying you're wrong, and I'm not saying they're going to defeat it. I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me now at this point. If you would ask me week 2, I'd be like, you're crazy. But seeing what some of these teams are now, I mean, I think it's more likely than it was. But yeah, to go, especially play an extra game now versus when the Patriots did it 16-0, you got to be 17-0 now. Yeah, I mean, you still got to stay healthy. Still got to get bounces. Like Cottrell said, not play in bad weather. It could be anything.
After this week, again, different performances from all the quarterbacks. Re-rank. I'm going to ask you to re-rank the last 2 quarterback drafts. Let me follow me real quick, right? So we'll go last year first, and then we'll go the 3. Well, the 3 from the year prior. So I'll help you. I'll give you mine first. If I was redoing the draft, this is how I would do it. I would go Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. I'm still going Trey Lance because the unknown is better than the known. Zach Wilson and Mac Jones 5. Last year, Mac Jones was on 1 on people's lists, which is to me insanity.
Not mine.
We also have insanity though.
So rank me those 5, and then we'll go a year back. And we'll do the Tua, Burrow, and Herbert.
Mine for last year would be the same.
I would say
same
mine.
What?
The same as me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, G, because I think if I could remember it back right, that wasn't the exact order I had. I think I swapped Wilson and Lance coming out, I believe. But that was, that's pretty spot on.
That was my exact 5.
I think it might only change.
The known is better than the unknown.
It's tough. I think
the
I
was
was
better than the known.
Pretty sure I was Trevor, Fields, Trey, Mac, Zach. Pretty sure because I was not high on Zach at all. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure that was my 5 back then.
I'm glad you brought up this question though, because Justin Fields has been getting a lot of flack from so many people, and I get it. The numbers aren't going to be there, but I mean, that's the definition of making the most out of your situation. You go out, you break Michael Vick's rushing record for a quarterback, and you give the Dolphins literally all they can handle. And it was a blown PI call at the end of the game that really should have put them in field goal range to begin with. Justin Fields is doing everything possible for him, and it's crazy that he's already getting this rap. He's labeled a bust and things like that, and he's still progressing.
His nickname in Chicago was Bustin' Fields.
It's crazy.
I have the shirt. It's on its way. It'll be here for next week. I will have the shirt on. Free Justin Fields. I bought it. I'm going to walk around wearing it. It's got a big X over the Bears. Free Justin Fields. It's wild to me.
I think
it is.
I mean, national media wise, ESPN and Fox anyway. I don't recall anybody saying he was a bust. I think there was people frustrated. And again, nobody expected him to put up numbers with the cast that he was playing with. People were more critical of him of other things like the decision making, stuff like that. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying I don't recall anybody trashing him for not throwing for 300 yards or anything like that. You're not going to do it with that roster. It's just
Bro, the mock drafts that were put out have a quarterback going to Chicago. They had Bryce Young and CJ Stroud going to Chicago on mock drafts. They're looking to replace him.
We
Listen,
got
if that's the case, good for Justin Fields.
In our comments talking about
that
Justin Fields is a bust, then you can add him to the list of Ohio State QB bust.
His last 4 weeks have been a complete 180 from how he started this year. And I think.
But if you watch the games, though, if you watch the games, you saw that when he was pressured, he was fine. When they were getting back there in 1.5 seconds, he was struggling. I mean, that's just the nature of any, let alone a young quarterback.
I
with
get
no
it,
weapons.
But you're seeing again, it's the decision making, and that was if we're just being biased, and I love Justin, which is crazy because I do think he's gonna be the first Ohio State quarterback to be successful. But if we're being honest, if you go back to him, that was always the thing on him. If you give him 5 seconds to throw, he looks great. When you put him under duress, he holds the ball too long or he makes bad decisions. That's what he was doing at the beginning of the season. Not that he had anybody to throw the freaking ball to, but there was times where he could have taken off and run and he didn't. He sat there and took bad sacks. He's not doing that anymore. He's going back, making 2 reads. If it's not there, he's going off for 40-yard runs.
I think that's how bad of a cast of characters he has around him. The 30th ranked offensive line, the 32nd ranked receiver.
Nobody's saying he should. Again, I haven't seen anybody trash him for not putting up numbers. He's not going to put up numbers with that wide receiving core. He's not.
Imagine if this Jets team that we see right now didn't overthink last year.
Yeah,
Justin Fields was the consensus number 2 quarterback going into the draft, and then it just got the leaked reports of medical issues and all the other nonsense that went into it. If you just stuck with what you saw on film and say, hey, this guy's the second best quarterback in this draft, and you take Justin Fields and you pair him with everything that the Jets have going on right now, I mean, the sky would be the limit for them, and you'd be like, all right, Jets are going to be a serious contender here for years to come.
Robert Saleh is a hell of a football coach.
Yes, he is. No doubt about it.
Let's go a step back. Let's go to 2 years ago, because there definitely was a little bit of flip-flopping and switching with this one. I'm going to give you mine. I'll just be very direct. There's only 3 with this one. As always, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa.
I'm still staying where I was.
I'm going.
I'm Herbert, Burrow, Tua.
I'm going Burrow, Herbert, Tua, just because Herbert hasn't made the jump that I've been anticipating him to make. And I get it, he's had receivers that have been out, but in this situation, Gene, the opposite of what you just said 5 minutes ago. I think the known better than the unknown. I know I haven't seen Herbert with his guys yet this season in year 2. Well, fully year two. I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see what he looks like with that, but I saw Burrow do it last year and look incredible doing it. I know he has that connection with Jamar already, and I see, when the pressure gets on him, he goes there and performs. I take Burrow number one.
Herbert's 19-20 as the starting quarterback. I'll take it a step further. I think the gap between Burrow and Herbert is bigger than the gap between Herbert and Tua. Look, you could make an argument that Tua is ahead of Herbert. I wouldn't make that argument. I think Tua is not that good. I think Tua is he's changed my opinion from an awful NFL quarterback to an average NFL quarterback. Like 15, right? Like he's changed my opinion there.
He's much closer to being a Dak Prescott-esque quarterback. I think Herbert has the potential to. I mean, before the season, me and Eugene picked Herbert to win MVP. So I think Herbert has that potential.
All three of us did.
And I also wanted, Bill. Oh yeah, he just didn't have.
Bill didn't have him one, but he said he won MVP.
Rankings. I think if Justin Herbert was in that Miami Dolphins system, I think he'd be launching balls to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle too. That's not to take away anything from Tua, but I think Justin Herbert will be more successful in that kind of system as well. You don't think Staley's a good head coach? I mean, at this point, I think that's obvious. I don't think he's terrible, but he's definitely not good. He's definitely not helping Herbert's improvement and his progression. But I mean, things matter, and I think Herbert's still going to be better in the long run, though.
We're gonna play hired or fired with head coaches because I always like to get my weekly Cliff Kingsbury hate out. So I'm gonna give you an NFL coach, and you're gonna tell me if they stay hired or they get fired by the end of the year. In lieu of Frank Wright being fired, which I'll have a little bit to say about that a little bit later. That's okay. But we're gonna play hired or fired, okay? By the end of the year, I'll start with an easy one in my opinion. Brandon Staley, since you brought him up. Will he stay hired or will he get fired?
I think he's going to stay hired. I think he's going to be in a very short leash next year, though. I think – listen, I'm not saying he's a great coach. I think the circumstances surrounding this team this year, though, I think – and honestly, the crazy thing is that they're 5-3 still. I mean, there's they still might make the playoffs. You've had Keenan Allen for 1 week. You've had Mike Williams for 2. You lost your starting left tackle. J.C. Jackson played a whopping 2 quarters.
You've had Mike Williams for way more than 2 weeks, bro. I don't know where you got that knowledge from.
Not fully healthy.
Mike Williams was fine for the first 5 weeks of the season. He got hurt 2 weeks ago.
He had a bad ankle in one of those games. I'm just telling you, he hasn't been 100%. He's played. He's still doing what Mike thinks, but he was not 100% the whole year. That's not truthful. Keenan Allen's played a game and a quarter. He's been out.
Keenan Allen, you're right about.
2 weeks now or 2 months now with a hamstring. I don't know what's going on there. Lost starting left tackle. Like I said, J.C. Jackson's played a whopping half of football for them. I just think there's enough going on there that he's going to get another year. I'm not saying he should. You're asking me if he's going to be employed there next year, and I think he will be.
That's fair.
I go like 100%. I do think he gets a short lease going into next year, but I mean he's finding ways to win football games, and it's not pretty. But they're still doing it. Not to mention Joey Bosa's been out for him as well. I think it's important to note those injuries. Obviously, you still got to find ways to win, even if they happen. You saw Mike Vrabel had a million injuries last year on that Titans team. And they still find a way to be the number 1 seed. I mean, which not asking him to be. I mean, obviously, you want to be coach of the year, but you can't hold him to that pedigree. If he's finding ways to win football games and the team is still behind him and they find a way to make the playoffs this year, that's progression from last year. So I think he'd find a way to save his job.
The first step to fixing a mistake is admitting you have one. It's a mistake, he'll be fired. Josh McDaniels.
Hired.
Yeah. I mean,
y'all think I think job?
I do. I don't think you wait that long. You go out and you pay him X amount of money, and then you just fire him after 1 year. I agree. That Raiders should be a lot better, but it's not like they've been getting blown out. They've been losing tight games. Josh McDaniels hasn't put them in a position to win football games late. I think he keeps his job just because you can't fire him after 1 year, especially after the whole Gruden thing, and you got rid of your coach from last year that took you to the playoffs. So I think you got to stick with Josh McDaniels and in a sense the process.
I vehemently disagree. Fired, and I think it might happen within the next couple weeks. Your starting quarterback just called you out in the press. Derek Carr just said, these rookie head coaches that just come in here and think the game's over at halftime. It's not over at halftime. Like literally just said that in his press conference.
I get it. I think it'd be different though if Josh McDaniels didn't have the name that he had either though.
Well, fired is my answer. Bill?
And we're not talking about dessert either. We're talking what we think happens.
Yeah, correct. Again, I mean, if it was up to me, I would have fired him already. But I think he's hired as well. It's tough to give all these coaches all this money and cut the cord after 1 year. I think it's crazy they cut another. I mean, they cut another first-round draft pick the other day. I think they're trying to create a certain culture there and change the culture and change the atmosphere in that team. And I think he's going to get another year to do it. I'm not saying I would, but I think he's going to. I wouldn't have hired him in the first place, but I think he gets 1 more year. The same thing, Staley. I think if they start next year like 2-5 or something, he's gone.
Okay. 2 more.
Get to the fun one.
Nathaniel Hackett.
Fired. There we go. Fired. He's out of here. I don't think he gets another year to fix that mistake. I think you got too many guys in that locker room. I think in a general sense, it's gonna come down to players going up to John Elway saying, "Hey, it's either Russ or Hackett's got to go. Pick your poison." I don't know who you think's more of the problem. One of them's got to go. Just gave Russ a whole bunch of money, so Hackett's on the chopping block.
I agree. I think we all know it's not really, some little known secret. I think they hired him in hopes that he was going to lure Aaron Rodgers there. That clearly didn't happen. Him and Russ are clearly just not, they just don't look at playing the offensive side of football the same. They are oil and vinegar. Same kind of thing, man. You look at any game, you got Melvin Gordon, Jerry Jeudy, you got somebody on the sideline throwing helmets, bitching. They are not a cohesive team right now, and I don't know how you bring him back into the building after the debacle that this year's been. So I'll say fired.
Oh, and we got my favorite one next, Cliff Kingsbury.
You didn't say what you thought.
I think he's fired. I think you guys have been super liberal with the people that you're keeping. I don't know. I think most of them are fired, but Cliff Kingsbury, my next one, and these are all quarterback coaches I think should be fired. So everyone I gave you. So at the end, I'm going to ask you to give me a coach that I didn't mention that you think could possibly be on the hot seat. So y'all can give me one afterwards. But Cliff Kingsbury.
I would fire him, but I'm going to say hired.
Man, about time. About time.
I would say hired. Every coach you've said so far, honestly, I would fire them. There's a difference in, Cliff went to the playoffs last year. You brought in Cliff to pair with Kyler Murray. Obviously, it hasn't worked out great. But again, in this situation here, you lost James Conner earlier on in the year. Nuke was out for 6 games. Like you get these built-in excuses, and the guy took his house last year. I'm not saying that I would keep him for it, but I think that's what Arizona's thinking, and they wouldn't have signed him to an extension if they thought he was that far on the hot seat coming into the season.
That's the number one sign for me why he's going to be hired. If they were unsure and they wanted to extend Kyler and be like, let's let him coach this year and see who we're keeping, that's what they would have done. They extended both of them. So from their point of view, I don't know what they're looking at. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors there, but for to the naked eye and the casual observer, that relationship is not working. But they think it is. So I think he's hired as well. I wouldn't at this point. I mean, it's tough. It is. I mean, I think this year's been a disappointment. But again, you don't have maybe the best receiver in football for 6 weeks. You lose your starting running back. I mean, it's just a lot. There's too much stuff that he can at least cause, make a reasonable argument why he shouldn't be. If I was being 100% honest, though, I would fire Cliff and I would trade Kyler because I don't think either one of them are the answers. But that's not realistic either. So I'll say he stays hired.
Okay. Any coaches that I did not mention that you would put on this chopping block?
Can I give you 2?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Dan Campbell and Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, Dan Campbell's probably yes. Matt LaFleur's probably no.
See, I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes at Green Bay. But I don't feel bad for Green Bay. I don't. I think Matt LaFleur is a good coach. I think the same thing I thought 2 years ago. There's one person there holding that complete freaking franchise by hostage, and they're stuck with him now. So
I was going to say, if you have a divisive team, one's getting paid $50 million, there's only so many choices you can make.
Agreed. I think Campbell gets one more year. They've been in a lot of games this year. The record doesn't necessarily show it, but they're moving in the right direction. I think he gets one more year to see if he can, I think everybody's forgetting, like, when he signed to be there, how much of a freaking absolute disaster of a rebuild that team was. I think they're getting better. And I think not having Swift most of the year again, and I think he gets a chance. I think they go out and get a quarterback this year too. So I'll say Campbell stays. I think if either one of those two gets fired, I think it might be LaFleur. And honestly, if it is, I would count my lucky stars and run the hell out of there, to be honest.
All right, let's move on to NFL Pick'em, gentlemen. Cottrell, Shally, Gene.
All right, well, got the ranking here. So, like I said, I'm heating up. Not really.
I see you.
I got 3 for you this week. My first one, I like Minnesota plus 3.5 at Buffalo. I don't think that Josh Allen is going to play. I think this line moves a large amount after they come out with the injury report that John isn't playing. And Case Keenum doesn't scare me at this point going up against his old team. I think the Bills would be very conservative. They're not going to be throwing the ball all over the yard. They'll run a lot more. And I think the way that Vikings team is, that they'd be more than capable to go into Buffalo and beat that if Case Keenum is at the helm. Second game I like. The Browns at the Dolphins. I like the over 48.5. I think there's going to be a lot of offense in that one. I know that this is Ward's first week back at practice. He's had a concussion. He's been out for past 3 weeks. I think he played fine, but on the other side of the field, it's either going to be Tyreek Hill going against Greg Newsome or Jalen Waddle going up against Greg Newsome. Our safeties haven't been playing well in Cleveland. I think Miami scores a lot, and I think Cleveland does a good job of keeping up with them in that game. So I think it's going to be a high scoring one there. And I like the New York Giants coming off the bye, minus 5.5 versus the Texans. I think Dable's going to have them ready. When you have a good coach like Brian Dable and you give him an extra to prepare for, on paper, the worst team in the league, I think they're going to come out guns blazing. And I think that's going to be a big win for that Giants team.
Okay, Shally.
All right, I'm going to start with Tampa Bay, -3 at home against Seattle. I think they cover there. I think
Germany.
I know. I'm hoping that they're going to be the home team. I'm hoping that last week finally kind of lights the spark under the asses of that collective offense. They're slowly but surely getting healthy. I think they can beat Seattle. And I think they cover there. I think Tom Brady has a first Tom Brady like big game of the year. So I'll take Tampa -3. The second game, I thought me and Cottrell were going to go head to head on this for a while, but he took the over under. I'm taking Miami -3.5 at home. I just think they're a better football team. Denzel coming back is obviously going to help, but I think Cleveland's defense has not played up to, I think the expectations of a lot of people this year, and the offense definitely has it. Obviously, not having Deshaun Watson is a part of that, but Miami's been a lot better at home than they are away. And I think they're going to score points. I don't think Cleveland's going to be able to hold them in the low 20s, is where they have to probably to win that game. So I like Miami to cover the 3.5 at home. And the last game I'm taking the Eagles -10.5 at home, coming off a longer week off after playing Thursday night. Washington, I think he's going to struggle to move the football. I know Tyler Heineke's going to play. This isn't what everybody, I think, when they bought tickets at the beginning of the year was hoping this was going to be. But I think Heineke's going to struggle against that defense. I don't think they're able to throw the ball too successful for the majority of the game. And I think that offense for the Eagles is just going to continue to do what it's been doing all year. I don't think Washington has an answer for it. So I think the Eagles win by like 14, 17 points. I don't think it's a very competitive football game.
Okay. A couple of you guys gave some picks that I agree with. Some I don't agree with. That's okay. I'm going to start with Buffalo, -3.5 over Minnesota. I think Buffalo run rules them. I mean, I think we're going to tap this one out. I don't care if it's Case Keenum, Josh Allen. I don't care if Cottrell goes back there for quarterback. Kirk Cousins ain't moving the ball against that defensive line, and he's going to get happy feet in that pocket that Buffalo Bills defense is going to eat. Give me the Buffalo Bills -3.5. Let's take the alternate line of Buffalo Bills -13.5 because they win the game by 20+. Next on the docket, I'm going to go all the way over to Germany. I agree with Bill. Give me the GOAT. He looked like the GOAT that last drive. He looked exactly the way you want to see Tom Brady look. Give me the Bucks -3 over Seattle. Games in Germany, I think that Tampa will be ready. I think it's a very long flight for them Seattle Seahawks. I think Tampa's the better team. I think Seattle's the better coach team right now. But give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers -3. You got to basically extend it by for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll take the Philadelphia Eagles -10.5 over Washington. I think that Monday Night Football, you have primetime game, a lot of primetime players on that Philadelphia Eagles side, coming off a little bit of a lackluster game versus the Texans, that they still won by 12 points. Nothing leads me to believe they won't cover 10.5 over Washington. Give me the Eagles -10.5 over the Washington Commanders. They're my picks this week. Pick them. Wire to wire.
I got 2 picks with Gene. I already feel better. Feeling a streak coming on now.
How to go? I don't want to go against Cottrell there. I think Cottrell is just very, very like the public thinks the same way he does. Like Josh Allen's probably not going to play. I don't care. Give me Case Keenum. I'm telling you right now, Kirk Cousins struggles against the pass rush. The Philadelphia Eagles led it to him, and I'm telling you that Buffalo Bills defense is coming after him. Buffalo is going to win that game, and they're going to win that game by a lot. A lot.
I mean, Buffalo, when the Jets needed it most that last drive, they were Swiss cheese. So
you're right.
I'm comfortable with it. I think they get a lot more possessions this week too because Case Keenum will be back there.
Okay. Let's move on to UFC, gentlemen. I got a big card in front of us this week. You got Dustin the Diamond Poirier versus Michael Chandler. And we're going over the top 3 fights. All right, Frankie versus Chris Gutierrez, okay. Dan Hooker, the gatekeeper division, okay. But the fights I want to talk about are Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler. Dustin Poirier is a -240 favorite, I believe, in that fight. I think Chandler's +180. How do you guys see that fight going? Because I know where I'm going with it.
I think how long this fight lasts, I think, is very somewhat important. We all know Dustin tends to start slow. He likes to go in. He's self-admitted he likes to go in and get hit a couple times and kind of ease his way into a fight. I don't know if that is the best strategy to go against Michael Chandler with. I think this is probably the best fight on the card, and I think you're going to see that. I've gone back and forth on this one a lot. I've been wrong about Michael Chandler a lot. I'm just going with my gut, and my initial reaction was I think Dustin pulls it out somehow. But at the same time, I won't be surprised at all if I'm wrong on this.
Cottrell?
I got a strong feeling on this one too, Gene. I think this is going to be a fight where these two lay it all out there, and they're going to be going blow for blow. And I think Michael Chandler gets him down, and he finishes this fight. I got Michael Chandler by TKO. I think he catches him slipping. I think Dustin's the better fighter, but I mean, this is the UFC. All it takes is one shot, put him down, and I think that's what happens here. I think Mike hits lightning in a bottle, puts him down, and Herb or whoever in the cage goes over and stops it.
What's up, Coach Dante? Appreciate you checking in. Joseph Jeffers, Christopher Amaro. How y'all feeling tonight? I think this night is a night of TKOs.
Agreed.
I see TKOs all across the board on this card. And I'll start with this one. Michael Chandler by TKO over Dustin Poirier in the third round. I think that it will be a tremendous fight back and forth. I think Chandler puts him away in the beginning of the third round. I think that Dustin Poirier barely going to make it to the corner in the second. And I think in the third round, Michael Chandler just lays it on him. So I'll take Chandler by TKO, third round TKO. I will start with the next one. I got Zhang Weili by TKO/murder over Carla Esparza in this fight. This is an awful matchup for Carla Esparza. This is a nightmare matchup for Esparza. Zhang Weili can work on the ground. She's gonna strike better than you. She's not going to get submitted. Her career showed you that. I don't know where Carla can win this fight. I think the odds tell you that. Carla is a plus 260 underdog as the champion. I don't think it's enough. Give me Zhang Weili by TKO or murder.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I think, again, I could point to 6 different ways Weili can win the fight. And, I tend to agree, other than Carla taking her down over and over and riding her out for 25 minutes. I think that's their only method to victory. And I don't think that there's any shot that's going to happen. I like Weili as well. I'll say second round TKO. I'm not going to go murder. I'll go felony aggravated assault.
I don't think this fight's close at all, man. I just don't. And I'm a Cookie Monster fan. I've loved Carla since Ultimate Fighter. But man, I just can't. I don't understand it. I don't see where it could happen. And it to me, I've only been wrong when I felt this way one time ever. And that was when Justin Gaethje beat Tony Ferguson. It's the only time I've ever been wrong when I'm like, I can't see this fight going any other way than this. But okay. Control.
You guys aren't Carla a chance here.
No.
You guys think Zhang's gonna go in and just kill and assault Carla, and I see it the same way. I think it's gonna be a first round TKO. Don't think it gets out of the first round. I think Carla's gonna go in. She's gonna try and get takedowns, but I think Weili, she does a great job of keeping people at this if she wants them to. And if you shoot on her, you're gonna get a knee to the chin or an elbow across your face. It's going to get bad in there. I think you may get a lot of more clinch work this time from Zhang, just because he's not going to want to get taken down. But if Carla wants to get that close, she'll give her damage. But I don't think this one gets out of the first round. I think we get to the main event pretty quick.
Speaking of that main event, what a main event it is. Did you see the press conference today, Control? I know you always watch those.
I haven't because it started at like 6:20 and so or something around there. So I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. No. This evening.
No, they had a press conference earlier where they were talking about Izzy was telling the audience, I think Alex should be favored in this fight. I don't know why I'm favored in this fight. I was dying. Israel Adesanya fighting Alex Pereira. If you don't know, this is one of Izzy's only losses in his career fighting. It was when they fought in kickboxing. How do you see this one going? Control your boy Izzy, main event. I know you've been calling for Alex for a while. So how do you see this fight going?
So this fight is interesting because I actually had to go back and, look at their fights in kickboxing. And if you saw those fights, first time, it was a closer fight. Many people think Izzy got robbed on the scorecards on that one. And then the second one, it was a fight that Izzy was winning. And then later on, he got knocked out. And the one thing with Alex is that I don't think he has the tank to be in there with Israel Adesanya. Kickboxing is a whole different animal than what it is being in the cage with a guy like Izzy. Izzy's going to push the pace. And if you see Alex is huge. And, I don't see him lasting with Izzy. I think by the time the third round gets there, he's going to be sucking wind, and Izzy is going to hit on him, and we're going to see a TKO. I actually was watching, Izzy just had a episode where he got interviewed by the guys on the Pivot, and he says this is one of the fights that he's been the most locked in about. Normally get playful Izzy, and he's talking a whole bunch on the lead up, but he's like, nah, this guy's beat me twice. Like, I got to work. I can't say anything. I got to head down and get to it. So I think he's taking this fight a lot more serious than his other fights that he has, because in his words, he knew he was going to be on the other side. He says he thinks this fight's going to be a war. I 100% agree to the point that Alex is, just winded from the pace that Izzy set. So got Izzy, third round TKO.
Control, I literally have it in my notes. I have Izzy, third round TKO. I think that Israel Adesanya is going to really work, and I think that Alex will have a moment in this fight where he catches Izzy and Izzy is stunned. I really believe that. He is so quick with his striking, and I think that in the second round, he's going to stun Izzy, and in the third round, you're going to see a well-maintained Israel Adesanya coming out of the break, and just he TKOs him in the third round. I'll take it. I think that we have the exact same way the fight plays out, so I don't want to harp on the same points that you did. It looks like Joseph Jeffers has a fourth round TKO for Izzy. Shally, you going anywhere else here?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Joseph Jeffers. I think fourth round. It's funny you mentioned what you did, though, because I agree with you. I think the first round might be a little bit boring. Izzy really likes to come out sometimes. I think with somebody as dangerous as Alex, I think he's going to want to really find his range, timing. I don't think this is like a fireworks show right at the beginning, unless Alex comes out that way. But I think there's probably a point in the first round or second round where Alex maybe hits him and, stuns him a little bit, maybe has him hurt. And then I see Izzy hurting him bad at the end of the third round. Same kind of thing. Alex gassed, going back to the corner and coming out in the fourth round and getting finished. I think he's just too good. I like Alex. I think he's had a great rise. But I think he's stepping in the cage with, physical, talent wise, one of the best guys to ever do it. I think Izzy's too quick with him, too quick for him. And his defense and his feigning and, all the things we love that Izzy does. I think it's going to be too much over the course of the fight. One thing, I saw them breaking it down earlier that I agree with as well. Alex tends to get a little wide with his shots sometimes. And I think Izzy's the last person in the world you want to do that with how quick his hands are, how quick he can get in and get out. So I'm going Izzy, fourth round TKO. I think it's a very good fight. And I think Izzy finally puts the ghost of Alex Pereira behind him.
I like it. So we all have Izzy by TKO, which means Alex Pereira will be your new champion.
Facts.
I feel very strongly about this card, man.
I do too.
Parlay
Jim,
action might be coming in.
I think it says something that we've agreed on all three of them, like the exact same way too.
Yeah.
Third round TKO with Chandler, first round TKO with Zhang, and then third round on Izzy. So, I like that we got the same vision for this card.
I don't know if I like that. It means that multiple people have the same vision, and if they do, it's normally something else. We'll see though.
The one thing though too though is like with the Michael Chandler, we're kind of putting ourselves out there because Dustin's the favorite in that fight. People who don't watch Michael Chandler fight in his past couple fights, he's only got the one win, and that's over Tony Ferguson in his last 3. So, it could go either way. And you got Carla, who's not we think she's here on the dog side, but
facts.
They got her in there. 240 is not crazy.
I agree. I think it is crazy that they have the line that way, though. I think bro, when I see this fight, I think it's a minus 700.
Like, yeah. I would think it's closer to Juliana and Amanda part 2 kind of line, where it's like 550, 600 going into it.
It's interesting. Let's get into Mount Rushmores, gentlemen. Should be a good pay-per-view. I will be watching. Oh, we got Indy. I love this Indy list, man. Every time I see the pictures, I swear to you. From left to right, you got the Sheriff, Peyton Manning. Miller Time, Reggie Miller, Indiana Pacer great. Indiana basketball coach great, Bobby Knight. And one of the smoothest wide receivers you'll see. Electric, Marvin Harrison, local boy from around the Philadelphia area. Indy has a very solid Mount Rushmore. You have a top 10 shooting guard ever to play the game. You have a top 5 quarterback ever to play the game. You have a top 5 to 10 college basketball coach ever. And you have a top 10 wide receiver ever. So it's a very solid list if you go from left to right. Peyton Manning is, where do you have him ranked? Just for fun. Do you have him 3, 4, 5? Where is he on your list as far as greatest quarterbacks ever? Man, we assume we have Brady, Montana 1 and 2, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I have him 3, but I have him and Marino like real close. Him, Marino, Elway 3, 4, 5. But
it's funny we have the same top 5.
I guess, are we talking in terms of, I think, in terms of just greatness, or like as a player, or
in terms of greatness? Yeah.
Okay, then yeah, he'd be my 3.
Well, if he was a player, where would you have him? What's the difference?
Because as a in terms of greatness, Aaron Rodgers can't be in my top 5. In terms of as a player, talent, like arm talent, that kind of thing, I'd have Aaron Rodgers in my top 5.
Yeah, but it isn't a talent list, bro. I think it's actually a knock on Aaron Rodgers, the fact that he's a top 5 NFL talent that isn't a top 5 NFL quarterback.
Agreed, but I just wanted to make sure we made that I made the distinction, because I don't want to give you. I think those are 2 separate lists.
When Aaron Rodgers your greatest of all time, what do you think of?
That's not how it was phrased, though. Where is he on your top quarterbacks list isn't the same as who are your GOATs.
He's third on my list. He's third on
4 for me.
He's third on my list.
Who do you have 3? You have Elway 3. I know you're a big Elway guy.
Yeah. He'd be 3 for me. Or Elway would be 3. Peyton 4. Marino 5.
I have Elway 5.
Same top
Peyton
5.
3. Yeah, I get it. I got Peyton 3 and I got Marino 4. But it is what it is. This is a solid list, though. Reggie Miller, top 10 shooting guard ever.
Second best shooter.
Man, what'd you say?
Second best shooter.
I won't go that far.
I'm going I'm going for either.
I think he's fourth now.
Ray Allen would like a word.
Third.
I mean, it would be tough for me to put him ahead of Clay as far as just shooting. I think he's a better player than Clay, but as overall shooter, having the fourth best shooter, having the seventh best shooting guard of all time, top 10 in both categories, though. Absolutely incredible. Took an Indiana team. Listen, if you don't know, he was one of Michael Jordan's biggest nemesis down the stretch.
Yep.
He was the ones that gave him some of the best series down the stretch. I think they were like not favored, but they were the closest odds in 97 or 98, whatever
Bro,
his last one was.
Yeah, some of those Pacers teams at the end, man, they were no joke. I mean, obviously, if you saw, like, I think people forget, depending on how old you are, but people forget how good Jermaine O'Neal was in his prime. Like, if you watch that 30 for 30, like the mouse of the palace,
Yes.
like that Indiana Pacers team was no joke, man. No joke. They were very good.
Hey, look.
Steven Jackson might be the funniest player I've ever seen in my life.
Who?
Kerchal, you've seen the 30 for 30?
Absolutely.
I didn't hear what you said, though. Who?
I said Steven Jackson.
Steven Jackson.
Oh.
You watch that 30 for 30, you can't help but laugh every time he's on screen. He just says something crazy. But most of the time he's not wrong. Like he's just one of those guys, like his delivery and the way he talks, and the language he uses, it's hysterical.
He's very unfiltered.
It was funny because he was basically saying he didn't want to go in the crowd, but when our test went into the crowd, he had no choice but to go in the crowd.
Yeah.
But Bobby Knight, this guy's around Bill's age. Bill, this is your heyday. What do you think about Bobby Knight?
Bobby Knight was before me, dude. Bobby Knight won his last championship when I was like 3. Listen, controversial figure, man. Old school, hard nosed. You went there throw a chair, choke a kid, whatever you got to do. He did it all. On top of that, he was a great coach, though. He had an undefeated national championship team. He was Indiana basketball for a long time. I'll tell you this: when the recording came out and he got fired, they haven't been the same since. They're going over 2 decades now of Indiana being relevant like they used to be.
3-time national champion, 5-time coach of the year, 4-time coach of the year, 5-time Big Ten coach of the year. Sorry, but
great coach, man. I mean, again, just an X's and O's thing. Like, that's an underrated part of his game because so many people, it gets overshadowed by some of his antics and his yelling and everything else. But listen, he was a no-nonsense guy, man. You went there, you knew you were going to play, and you were going to play hard. And if you didn't play hard, he was 100% going to tell you about it. But it's kind of a shame how it ended. But a lot of that was self-inflicted, unfortunately.
Oh, what do you mean? You can't show kids?
No, not really.
Oh,
not really.
Definitely not anymore.
I would say back then you probably could get away with it a little bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, when it happened, yeah. But yeah, I mean, he used to kick basketballs. I mean, everybody's seen the clip. He just threw the chair on the court. Like, the dude didn't care. But
next guy on the list, Marvin Harrison. 15. I mean, my man had 14,800 yards, 6 All-Pro selections, 1,100 career receptions, 8 Pro Bowls in 13 seasons.
And shot a dude at a car wash.
Yeah, it definitely happened. But 1,600 yard season. Marvin Harrison was a stud in every aspect of the game.
I think the biggest thing with him is if you looked at him, he was undersized, not big, not. Gino already mentioned it. The smoothness and the efficiency in which he ran routes was crazy. Obviously, it didn't hurt getting Peyton Manning throwing him the ball. It was just, if you looked at him, you would never think the guy was an elite level athlete, and he was. and he made playing wide receiver look easy. It's one of the best compliments I could give him.
He had 143 receptions on 205 targets.
Yeah.
1,722 yards was his best season. That was 2002. Marvin Harrison
caught everything that came.
I just remember, I would, yeah. I mean, you would watch like the Colts games back then, and like they knew what they were going to run at the end of the game. They were going to run like all these different sideline routes and everything, and he would still get open. He would still get open, and double tap, get out of bounds. And he would do it 2 or 3 times, and then the Colts would kick like a field goal to win. It was wild to watch. I mean, it was a guy. Like I said, I mean, it's the biggest compliment I can give him. He didn't do anything. When you watched him, he wasn't like a Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, where it was like a wow type guy. But you would look up at the third quarter, like Gene said, and he'd have 12 catches for 180 yards, and you'd be like, "What the hell?" You just couldn't cover him. It was just nuts.
8 straight seasons over 10 touchdowns too. Which is very.
Yeah, so
he's got a kid that's about to win the Biletnikoff. So
always got to bring it to Ohio State. Can we go next list?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Bobby Knight, Ohio State. OH, we're everywhere. You can't get rid of us.
That didn't take long. I wonder if he helped. His dad cover up for the shooting. Probably.
Oh my God, Jesus, yo.
Something an Ohio State player would do. Just saying.
These pictures are hilarious, bro. Minnesota, it's a solid list.
I love that Cottrell looked up Harmon Killebrew's raper profile picture. Good Lord, dude. That's Adrian Peterson's interrogation photo when they're asking him, "Did you hit your son?" He's like, "Me? No."
What's Randy?
Yeah.
I just scored a touchdown.
Yeah, that's just Randy being Randy. Straight cash, homie.
All right, so you got Randy Moss, the second, in my opinion, the third, but most people's opinions, the second greatest wide receiver ever played a game of football.
You have him third?
I do.
Who do you have him from besides Jerry?
T.O.
Okay.
My top 5 running back of all time. I have number 5, Adrian Peterson. So you got a top 5 wide receiver, a top 5 running back, a top 5 WNBA player of all time, Maya Moore.
She's a top 5 female basketball player of all time, in my opinion.
Sure. Good. Control. Oh, you have.
I would have her. I would have her one. I think her argument. You got the same with Khabib, where it's a short span, but in her 8 years of playing, she's got 4 championships, and she was the most dominant player on the court.
That's fair.
I'd make the argument for her at one, but I can hear other arguments.
You're not going to find many people that are going to argue against how great Maya Moore was, right? So, there's a huge argument for a Diana Taurasi, a Sue Bird, Candace Parker for longevity.
Absolutely. Yep.
So I say top 5, and that would be not arguable. You can't argue she's a top 5 women's basketball player of all time.
No.
And then Cheryl Miller, that'd be the 5 on my list. So the four I just mentioned with Cheryl Miller, but and then Harmon Killebrew, 553 home runs, got raked, man. Mr. Twin. Minnesota's list is solid. This is solid competition, and it's funny because the way you look at it, right? Outside of Marvin Harrison, it's a picture of Minnesota and a picture of Indiana. I'm not trying to be smart when I say that, but breaking down the two, Minnesota athletes, Randy Moss, Adrian Peterson, Maya Moore, and Harmon Killebrew. Indianapolis athletes, Peyton Manning. I don't know, just split up, a very, very split up. But what are your thoughts on the list, Cottrell?
I mean, Minnesota's got you talked about Adrian Peterson being top 5 back. I think the hard part about Adrian Peterson, and I guess accurately ranking him, I probably would have him about there off the top of my head, probably about 4 or 5. The tough thing about it is that he just really stopped playing football. So I think once the years start to go by, like we'll start to appreciate AP's greatness even more. When he was on the field, he was electric, and what he did after even coming back from an ACL tear in 9 months, I mean, it was special. And seeing Randy Moss catch everything and just be the guy that he was, the antics, everything about Randy was box office. Talk about 30 for 30s. He had a great one. And then, yep, ran you was a great 30 for 30. And then with Maya Moore, she's a legend. Like I said, I would have her one, but I 100% understand every argument where you don't have her one based off of the longevity and all of that. I 100% understand it. And then with Killebrew, I obviously watch him play, but you can't lie against his numbers. His numbers are going to stack up against some of the best to ever do it. So, this solid, very, very solid.
I think I know where you're going based on the very, very solid, but okay. I think it's close, very close. This would, to me,
Indy's is very, very solid too, though. So it's not.
It's a low key, very good matchup. Like, it's one of those things where you're like, oh, like we're going to Indy, Minneapolis. And you're like, all right, that's probably going to be like whatever. But then like we start naming names.
The 8-9.
Yeah. And then like you look at it like this is about as even as it gets, to be honest.
Bro, all right, so Bill, start us off. Where are you going with this?
Oh man. Jesus. So this is kind of, I guess I have to come up with some kind of like tiebreaker kind of criteria for this for me. So I think you have the guys on Indy that, you've Peyton like a body of work, Marvin Harrison a body of work. Bob Knight obviously, was around for a long time. And then on here on this list, we already talked about with Maya Moore. And then you have two guys in Adrian Peterson and Randy Moss that legit in like the middle of their prime, the explosiveness and how good they were, just the wow factor is very hard to ignore. And then obviously Harmon Killebrew, he played back in the late 50s and the 60s, and played against all those great Yankees teams and won an MVP, won a couple Silver Sluggers, made like 12 All-Star lists. Dude's actually kind of underrated because he played in Minnesota. Gene already mentioned it, 550 home runs. The dude smashed the ball. And apparently he was legit the nicest human being on earth. Probably wouldn't know it by that picture, but that's apparently it's apparently the truth. So I'm going to start this off, and I'm going to go the way that I didn't think I was going until we started talking about these. I'm going with Minnesota.
Cantrell, are you going anything up opposite Minnesota?
So this is.
I just
tough,
want to know
man.
if I have to decide and vote or not.
This is tough
because it's super tough. And like the way I break it down, I'll just give you my mindset, my thought process. Like, do you compare Reggie Miller to Maya Moore, or do you compare Bob Knight? Do you compare Bob Knight to Harmon Killebrew, Reggie Miller to? So if you do it that way, right? Like, here's my thought process, right? You go to two old timers compared to each other. I think Killebrew is better to baseball than Bob Knight is to basketball. Just my personal opinion. Then you go Reggie Miller or Maya Moore. And yeah, granted, Reggie's a guy, and it's a lot harder to be the greatest of all time in your sport. But I could, at worst, that would be a wash, right? Like I think Maya's greatness in the women's basketball would be better than Reggie's greatness, but it is the WNBA versus the NBA. Then you break down, you go a little bit step further. Randy Moss is a better wide receiver than Marvin Harrison. Love Marvin Harrison, but Randy Moss is better. And then the Sheriff is a greater NFL player than Adrian Peterson. So it's super close. Like super close to me. Where are you at, Cantrell? Let me see if I'm breaking a tie or I'm deciding whether
No,
it's a sweep.
so you break it down like that, I think is the perfect way to do it. Although, I mean, I agree. You know, obviously the NBA is gonna have tougher competition than WNBA. My more greatness is just it's just more there. Um, I'm going with Minnesota in a 7-game series, and it goes to overtime and all of that. But I got Minnesota squeaking out this one.
I got Minnesota too, man. I was seeing if I was going to be the tiebreaker and in the sweep, but I got Minnesota too. It's very close. I told you how I broke it down in my head, like how I looked at it, and man, it's just you got 3 people that were top 5 at their position or in their sport, and then you got Harmon Killebrew, 573 home runs, not 553. I apologize, 573 home runs. It's not to be ever taken lightly. What was his career batting average? 256. So he was a
I
slugger.
would say he was like a 260 guy.
Man, it's close, but I'll give the nod to Minnesota. Minnesota's my nod there. So we got Minnesota on the sweep. Let's get into you. Got to be kidding me.
How many do we have left?
We got
We're gonna do them next week.
4 left. And I think
And then we go into bracket.
Yep.
Then we go in the bracket.
And we're doing both next week.
Yep.
What
are the 4 cities we
finish
have
them
left?
off in the bracket.
What are the 4 cities we have left?
Give me 1 second here. We have Tampa Bay,
Okay. That's the tough
Nashville,
one.
Las Vegas, and Kansas City.
So we can't put Vegas versus Kansas City because the other two are. You should probably put Las Vegas versus Tampa and Kansas City versus Nashville.
It's fine with me. We can find how we're gonna play them, but those are the 4 we got left.
Kansas City's going to be stacked. It's going to be loaded.
Kansas City is low key going to be stacked. Like, yeah,
Loaded.
There's going to be some interesting cuts on Kansas City, to be honest. Can show you know what we got next week though. Gene's going to love
World
it.
Cup, baby.
Yes,
World
sir. World Cup.
I get into the World Cup. I'm good with talking
Oh, really?
about the World Cup. I get into the one time of the year. I like soccer until the United States is eliminated. I'm like,
shh. Coming down with that.
Hey, yeah, you calm all that down. Hey, it's first
it's
time.
gonna happen.
First time in
They're
a
not
long
gonna win
time.
the World Cup.
First time in a long time. We're back. We're not talking about all that stuff.
We believe.
Yeah, they're
This
debatably the
is
second best team in their group. I get it.
Damn,
Hey,
you
we ain't
like
getting all that. We're back. US is back. All right,
shit on
we're
soccer.
back. That's all that matters.
Okay.
Excited? I can't wait.
Oh, I'm gonna start working on my World Cup preview this weekend. I can't wait.
Nice.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
you already know. You already know it's going to get live next week. Can't wait.
All right, Control. You got to be kidding me for me.
My you got to be kidding me this week. Elon Musk and what he's doing with Twitter. We got these reports coming out from these fake accounts,
man.
but they got the blue check mark now. You got King James with a Z and Adam Schefter bogus account, and you got Boss X Sports with blue check mark now. So now there's going to be all types of mayhem in my Twitter sphere because Elon Musk says, "Hey, for $8 you could be as famous as it be." That just shouldn't be the case. Elon, look, I get you trying to make your money, but you got to save the blue checks for the people who are verified and they're professionals at what they do. I don't want to have to go back and double check, like, oh, was that an I or was that an L? Like, are they duping me here with their names? It's just too much. And so for that this week, Elon, you get the.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
So I don't want to debate it because you got to be kidding me. But he did say he was permanently banning any account that does not say it's a fake account, like a parody account. So those accounts that are making those parody accounts that aren't making it clear, he's going to permanently ban their account. So
I mean,
I get it.
that's fine, but I don't. Well, before I didn't have to go back and check their bio to
4
see
months you won't have to
what
either
it
because
said.
they'll all be banned.
But if they put it in their bio and they still have the blue check mark, then it doesn't matter. And they'll be around still. Ball Psych's going to have the blue
I'm a
check mark
Twitter Blue subscriber.
they
Shout
have-
out to Elon Musk.
Listen, I love Twitter. I love it for sports. I think it's gonna be an interesting 60 days, but we'll
Team
see what
Elon.
happens. Yeah, you gotta tread lightly on Elon Control. That is Gene's boy.
I'm a fan.
I'm
I
a
love
fan of
his
some stuff he
comment.
does.
I loved his comments on AOC, bro. It was hilarious. He's like, I'm offended that you think that I would waste my time trying to mess with your account. My assistant did that. I want you to think about that.
It's funny. He's just not for everybody. That's all. It's all.
Yo,
It really
Joseph Jeffers, if you're a big soccer guy, why don't you come on the show? You've been such a listener for so long. We would love to have you.
Yeah, let's do it. World Cup segment next week.
There's never a person that I would love to have on more than somebody like Joseph Jeffers, man. Talking about a guy that's been here every week. I love the guy. All right, Shallie, let's get into yours.
I didn't really have one, but now I'm gonna do one. My you gotta be kidding me is gonna be Gene for saying the U.S. soccer team is not going to do well in the World Cup next week, and also for having his backdrop backwards. It's been bothering me all night. I keep trying to read it backwards. So
no,
for this week,
all right, so hold on,
for this week,
not backwards.
Gene Walzak.
Come on, you gotta be kidding.
But it's not backwards, right? Bill, if
It
I
is
was
backwards.
turning around, right, I would read it
You
from
can
left
read it.
to right, right?
That's right to left. What are you doing? You're backwards, bro.
Left to right.
I
If
can't
you were
wait till
turned
watch this
around,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, if I was facing it, right? So it's behind me. If I put wire to wire on my wall, you think I would write it the other way? That would be weird.
Wait till you watch the show. You'll understand.
It's okay. It's all right. I'm all right with it. I'm okay. I've been all right with it. All right. So my you got to be kidding me this week is the Indianapolis Colts, Jim Irsay, and for hiring Jeff Saturday. A little bit of a rant, guys. I don't mean to get too far into this, and I will keep bringing this up until some change happens in the NFL. Why was Jeff Saturday hired as their head coach with no college football coaching experience, no head coaching experience in the NFL? The only head coaching job he's ever had was high school football. Why? Why was he hired? You want to hire? All right, so let's make an argument, right? I want to hire a Indianapolis Colt. That's in the circle. That's an Indianapolis guy. You got Reggie Wayne on the damn staff. He's on the staff.
Yep.
Why? I don't get it. I don't understand it. Let's take it a step further, right? You don't have to go through the Rooney Rule if you hire an interim coach until you replace the interim tag. It's embarrassing what these NFL owners do to not hire African American coaches. There's too many good ones. Hey, why not bring Jim Caldwell back? He was one of the greatest coaches you guys ever had. Why not him? It's embarrassing to me in a sense that you look past the people that were in the building that work on. You know, they have two previous head coaches on their staff. Like John Fox is there, won a Super Bowl.
Gus Bradley
is there. What are we doing right now? Jeff Saturday just hired him off ESPN. Just like, come on, Jeff. Come on over to Indianapolis. We need a Ring of Honor member. You had one on your staff. What does that say to the players? What does that say to the coaches that are in the building? They hired the assistant quarterback coach to call plays this week. Some guy you've never heard his name before.
Just don't know what it is.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Jim Irsay is an embarrassment. The Indianapolis Colts are embarrassing. And I had a feeling, and this is just my feeling, and maybe I'm just nuts. I have a feeling that Irsay talked to the coaches in about Frank Reich and what they didn't like about what he was doing or this and that. And they were like, nah, man, we love Frank. And none of them were like, I don't want to take Frank's job. So they had to hire an outside guy to come in and take Frank's job, knowing that the whole crew, the whole group of coaches will be fired at the end of the season because they'll hire a new coach and he'll want to have his own coaching staff in place. So for that reason, the Indianapolis Colts.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Guys, 9 o'clock on the dot. Perfect time and Total TV. Appreciate you guys. Sports Empire Network, Wire to Wire Sports Podcast. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, iHeartRadio. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, we got you. Cottrell, any final thoughts?
Nope. I got nothing this week.
Well, we appreciate you, brother, for putting everything together graphics-wise, running the ones and twos. You're awesome. Shally, any final thoughts?
I got nada this week. Nada.
All right, well, I appreciate everybody tuning in. And with that, I will leave you wire to wire, signing out.